Hello and welcome back to Pulp Kitchen. Guys, we just reviewed Captain America Brave New World on episode 168 of the podcast. So if you want to hear our spoiler-free thoughts of Captain America 4, please go and check that out. This is going to be a spoiler-filled conversation just to quickly talk about a couple of plot points related to post-credit scenes and some missing plot elements I wanted to talk to you, but obviously didn't want to spoil it for people. Shall we start? Just broad strokes. We both kind of regard fairly similarly in that it's pretty fairly mediocre. I'd say it's probably one of the lower end of MCU. You're sort of more middling.
I think it's because, like I said, I think it's got good intentions, tries its best, better than expected in some regards, but I think it's still hampered by
undoubtedly saved in the edit, but you can really tell it was saved in the edit. But should we just start with the post-credit scene?
Right,
there is one.
So it's the scene we're talking about. He
goes into the raft to go and visit
Samuel Stearns. Is it Stephen Stearns? Samuel
Stearns, and he says the following with the camera slowly moving towards his face. He says, "We share the same world, don't we? The world you would die to save. It's coming. I've seen the probabilities, seen it plain as day. All you heroes protecting this world, you think you're the only ones? You think this is the only world? We'll see what happens when you have to protect this place from the others."
I found that an incredibly boring post-credit sequence because I'm like, we know. You've been doing the multiverse for like 5 years.
Yeah.
We know there are other things. And we know that Doomsday is coming. But like, it felt very much like a placeholder.
So the use of the word others has led a lot of people to speculate that our Avengers, while we'll be fighting Doctor Doom, they will be fighting evil variants of themselves, which would actually rationalize Robert Downey Jr. playing both Doctor Doom and Iron Man in the same universe. There was a strand of the comics that represented that Doctor Doom and Tony Stark are like variations of the same brilliant person.
Yes.
One of them goes and becomes Iron Man, and the other variation is a Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
So if they are essentially from the same person, that explains why Robert Downey Jr. is Doctor Doom, and therefore the logic suggests that we are going to be presented with a evil version of Captain America, at which we have to go back and get the old Chris Evans to basically fight, which also suggests we will get Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man to help take down Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom, and that maybe our villains will not be fighting a Thanos-like with an army of CG monsters. The fight will be from within, fighting themselves, and that maybe like bad Thor will kill good Thor.
Yes.
I think Thor would be a martyr for the series. I think
he could do with it. Yeah.
He's a good, impactful original 6 Avengers to sort of be killed there. So that's the logic that people are jumping to explain Downey
I'd
Jr.
watch that.
Which is fun, right? Because you can't redo, like, yes, Doom can be the villain, but it's the villain of who they've become,
It's much more interesting for him to be an evil version of.
And then that's how they get Chris
Stark.
Evans back for a great cheer at the cinema. I think they'd get Scarlett Johansson back as Black Widow. And they basically...
But she fell out with Disney. Big time.
Could have done, but I've heard rumours it's like she'll come back for a last bit of thing.
Really?
We'll see.
Yeah.
How do you think about Avengers versus Avengers? You know, like in Infinity War, no, in Endgame, when Cap fought Cap from the past. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, briefly. Yeah,
kind of like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting.
And everyone playing a darker version of who they are.
Yeah, I'd watch it. I'd watch that.
Yeah, that's what they'd get you. And then obviously, like, some of the bad ones would kill the good ones.
And that, I actually think that's a smart way of then you throw up all the things in the air, and then when the dust lands, you have the new MCU. You've culled. You need to cull some characters, and you've got a cleaner slate. Who's left over? Ultimately,
I think that you use the death of Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man at the end of Endgame for a really nice moment. I don't think I personally don't like the idea of bringing him back to kill Doctor Doom. If that's what they're going to do. But I think it's going to happen anyway.
I don't think they would give. I don't think they're going to bring old Iron Man back in that respect.
I don't think.
No, well, maybe a scene, but I don't think they're going to rest the success of the plot on his shoulders. It's a massive combat to give the character.
He's the hero saving the day again.
From 5 years ago. There's no payoff for the audience there because they've not been invested in this character.
What does he do, though?
Years.
Does he give them the knowledge to take down Doom's technology?
Maybe. I think they'll just keep it to evil Stark.
I think we also got to remember we've got 2 likely 3-hour films, 2.5, 3-hour films of content. So we've got Secret Wars and Doomsday.
Yeah, Doomsday's first. Wars. So Secret Wars, is it going to be like an Infinity War Endgame thing where it follows on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be like part 1, part 2.
Part 1, part 2.
I assume so. They were meant to come a year apart from each other, weren't they?
Yeah.
That's what's
so is this one, yeah.
And I think they'll do the Infinity War. I think they'll shoot them in one filming batch like they did before.
Okay.
But that's the others. it's not a villain. You're going to fight yourselves.
I'm up for it. I like it.
And
I
it
like the
ties
idea.
up the multiverse thing. If they're able to like close
Thank
the
God.
hole.
Yes,
and go,
exactly.
We killed all the bad versions of ourselves. Kang thing didn't quite work out, but we're going to do that anyway.
Some
There
of
you
us
go.
are dead.
Some of us are dead. Some of us are alive. Other plot points just wanted to bring up about why the leader, Tim Blake Nelson, Samuel Stearns, who's back in this. We were reminded after 17 years that he got some gamma juice in his cut.
Yeah.
I completely forgot, but like when you showed me, I was like, oh yeah, of course. And was he in a post-credit scene recently?
No, I don't think
They
so.
brought him back for something.
I don't know because I haven't been from the MCU.
Anyway,
that much.
he was back, but my main problem is like he thinks very small. As someone who's been sitting for how many I don't know how many MCU years he's been sitting around thinking.
Yeah.
But he thinks very small, and he doesn't think about Captain America coming in and saving the day.
They
and-
really could have done a great thing where they come out and he's like been the architect of all of their destruction and comes
That's
out and
always
says,
fun.
"I've been sat in this basement. You've forgotten about me, but all these bad things. If you go, and they go back through lots of
Link
films,
it,
but
yeah.
it's been linked to me,
Yeah.
and I'm a link, and I know about a greater threat. That's more
having him
interesting.
whisper in Thanos' ear, have you ever thought about killing 50% of everyone? Just like, it was you all along. Blofeld Inspector. I have been the architect.
That's
of your
exactly what I was
destruction,
thinking.
James.
But no, just to have him sort of turn up and go, I've got a really good idea. I'm going to make the president really angry.
yeah.
Okay.
And also, like, it's I was slightly confused. So, Thaddeus Ross is taking these pills
Yes.
to suppress the gamma.
No. He's taking these pills because he was dying of cancer.
That was it.
And he's taking these gamma pills, which were keeping him alive. But the side effect was that what was happening was that he
Classic
was building
superhero.
in himself a gamma thing, which the leader, Samuel Stearns, knew that he could be like, when I want you to make, you're like, I can detonate you at any point now.
Yeah.
You're a time bomb for me. And I can make you into the Red Hulk.
And also, like, there's a moment in that fight scene over the near the celestial being where, like, he doesn't quite Hulk out, but he's
Yeah.
almost going to Hulk out. And it's like,
Which I
did
liked.
I liked it for tension. It was
Yeah.
good fight. I thought he would Hulk out. But it's like, did you not think that maybe he would resist it? Like, how many variations of your plan were there?
Yeah.
It's almost like underbaked. Again, like, it's clearly many movies
It's annoying
stitched together.
again when you have a plot that's all about mystery and who ordered who ordered the code red and in the Indian Ocean. Wait, don't fire on that nation. And then it's contrasted with, oh, I'm going to make you angry.
There's one moment where Stearns was like in broad daylight in a hat on the green bit, and I was like, this doesn't work.
No.
You've shown your villain in broad daylight and it's killed the scariness of him. Let's just talk about Bucky being a politician now.
Yeah, that came in.
He was the Avenger that was brought in for that one scene. Which is an interesting place to put him, because I love Sebastian Stan's. I like Sebastian Stan's Bucky, but I'm not like, oh my god, it's Bucky! Wow, amazing! They got him in for a scene.
Because I'm so checked out for the MCU. I thought everything that was being said we were meant to already know. So when it was like he was a congressman, I was like, oh, I've clearly just missed out on that.
Oh, I think that's new.
They are starting to make Bucky a more interesting character. In the original past 10 years era of Marvel, I found Bucky so dull because he was dull.
God, so
he had no
dull.
personality. And now he's getting a bit more Sebastian Stan-y. I quite like it. And maybe Thunderbolts will have a real chance to
I'd
shine.
love to see him angling his political campaign after he was like a political assassin.
Yes, since he blew
was
up the
like-
leader of Wakanda.
I would be like, as his political rival, I'd be like, this man is a super weapon ticking time bomb
Yeah.
who someone could flip a switch and he will completely go berserk.
Yeah.
How are you running to be a congressman? And how's that going to be completely derailed for Thunderbolts? Where he's like, God damn
Also,
it.
who's
Gotta lock
the
in.
vice president and who replaces Thaddeus Ross as president now?
Yeah.
Because now
Yeah.
you've brought the president into it.
Yeah.
We're now all thinking,
Who's vice? Who's VP?
well, but who's running the show? If you show me that it is important for the president to be involved in these matters,
Yeah.
so you can't just replace it with generic person. It's like done.
we were always I wasn't assuming that the presidents were just like, I can't do anything about this. We'll just let the Avengers get on with it. They saved us. Thank you. One more thing is that I felt like Giancarlo Esposito's character, very underbaked.
The Serpent, was it called?
Serpent.
But then they started to call him Sidewinder for a bit.
I think it was Sidewinder. He reminded me of the Frank Grillo Crossbones character.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that guy who was sort of being antagonistic without much of a reason? Like he was
Only-
around.
yeah, and then they brought him in just to serve the opening of Civil War.
Like a brute.
Yeah.
He would cause, he'd do a good fight, but ultimately had no relevance to the plot. I think I heard a rumor that maybe he was a very late addition to, I think the original script didn't have that character
Giancarlo.
in it, Giancarlo
Yeah,
Esposito, which would make sense. But we don't understand necessarily why there's such a grudge to kill Captain America. I did like their fight scene though.
Yes.
And I like I said in the main review, it was a really welcome change that Sam wasn't a super soldier. I felt genuine threat for him, and the punches I felt like hurt. So I was like, God, you could so easily, if you get thrown into a car, your bones will break. And that was a really welcome
Bleach on the car battery was smart. Did you remember that? He
Yes.
pours bleach so they get smoke and pop
really
up.
good. So yeah, unfortunately he's just a little bit underbaked, just like another sort of thing slightly lost in the shuffle there. Another character that was slightly elusive to me was the Bat Seraph character, who was she was the one who was former widow. She was there, like...
Betsaroff. Yeah, the thingy Betsaroff. And every time I heard it, I was like,
Ruth,
do you mean like...
Ruth Betsaroff, yeah.
No, Betsaroff. It was pronounced Betsaroff.
Batsaroff.
Batsaroff. They said
Batsaroff.
Batsaroff because I was like, are all bets are off?
Because in the beginning...
That's what it sounded like. All bets are off.
All bets are off. Like, in the beginning, Sam Wilson's like, I want you to look into her, like find out who she is. Like, and then I was like, oh, they're setting her up to be some like undercover agent. There's more to her than it seems. She's actually working for... just kind of there in a cool FBI suit.
Yeah.
In that Black Widow role, doing the spinny combat thing.
The scissor kicks in the air.
Adamantium being mentioned
that
as
was
the
interesting.
main mineral in the celestial body. That was quite a cool drop.
Makes sense.
Not sure like what the sort of link is going to be there, and that there's a shitload of it now in the ocean.
I guess that they'll eventually... That's just a link, because that's what Wolverine's skeleton is made of, right? So I guess it's a link to eventually bring in a new Wolverine, which will have adamantium in him. By the way, you know that when we did our chat last week about Harris Dickinson playing Bond, a lot of people say no, they think he's going to be Cyclops in the MCU. I think he's better than that, but I'm like, I could see it. If they made Cyclops more of a central character, Cyclops has always been a sort of secondary character.
I can see it.
But I don't want to have Harris Dickinson wear a visor. You know, he's too handsome.
I want to see his eyes.
Yeah.
I think Ty Sheridan will come back.
Boring. James Marsden, knowing James Marsden as the actor we know him now, like I feel like they could have done more with him as Cyclops.
Yeah.
Anyway,
never got a standalone film.
I'm
like not saying the other
that.
X-Men all did, but it's like of that era.
I'm fine with that. I think he just needed a moment. I feel like Cyclops deserved a moment, and he very famously obviously got killed off screen, but then brought back in Days of Future Past. Also, Liv Tyler
coming back.
Teased. So here's the thing we were talking about in the film, is that there's the fight scene between Red Hulk and Captain America, and it gets to the point where they're in the cherry blossoms, and we've all heard about how he misses his daughter.
I just want to walk with her in the cherry blossoms.
And where do they end up? The cherry blossoms. And it's clear that it's like, he's going to see the cherry blossoms. It's going to remind him of his daughter. Now, in that moment, Sam Wilson decides to give the Hulk a speech because he's a counselor, right? And for his character, it does make sense. But that speech looks like it was reshot 8 months later. Poorly lit.
Very soft,
very flat.
field. They put the camera up slightly so the perspective shoots down more at the pavement, so you didn't have to render more of the background.
It looked very late.
I like to think it's not just because we've been watching films for a long time. I would say most people who've seen films before will look at that moment and go, that is a different day, different lighting, different everything.
And we thought what's happened there is, even though thematically for the plot, I liked that happened, even though it looked terrible. I was like, I like the fact that the conflict is being resolved this way.
Sure.
But we were talking afterwards and thinking, it's clear that probably an original version of the script is what we all thought was going to happen. Was that Betty Ross, was going to turn up and de-escalate him and put her hand on him, and he was going to deflate. I don't know how de-Hulk. I'm glad that didn't happen, but obviously that's what you got there. Anyway, so they tease the whole thing, and they bring her in right at the end on the raft, which looks like it was also reshot. I don't think Harrison Ford and her were in the same room. No. She literally just like slides in like a meme, and it's like, hi, Dad.
Like a keyframed animation.
Yeah. Hi, Dad, how are you? Yeah, great, thanks. And then that's it. That's it. God, 17 years later, imagine getting the call. By the way, you're coming back.
That's the thing about...
I'd say that's 1 day of filming.
Yeah. That's the thing about the film, is that it seems to kind of just fizzle out.
Yeah.
It's like, we get the fight, and I think, the fight was good. And I think, Sam Wilson holds himself as well as you could do if you're immortal in front of the Hulk. I was like, any of those punches would eviscerate any bone in your body, but he just about makes it. But then, it just kind of ends, and he goes, hang on. Think about emotions, bro. And that's how it ended. And you're like, I guess you could have just...
He outsmarted him, though.
Well,
thematically, for his Captain America to be the guy who says no.
That's the hero moment, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's like the moment that makes the best superhero films you really like hold up. So even the best moments in No Way Home, right, is when Tom Holland wants to kill the Green Goblin, but Tobey Maguire stops him.
Right.
And I'm like, that is a brilliant superhero moment, because you are older than this Peter Parker. Yeah. You know that revenge is in the way, and you, like a superhero should, you've risen to the occasion to become the best version of yourself, so that, this can be the best version of yourself. And I'm like, that's a really great superhero moment. I want to see in more films. Equivalent of rise to the occasion, be more than just what other people expect you to be. Be the best version of yourself.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. Is that not why we're here?
That is.
Any other thoughts for Captain America: Brave New World?
I just hope that MCU can get stuff back on track. Although I don't really, I have so low stakes. I don't really care, but I do wish, because we are going to end up watching these films for many years to come, that they could get better. So I would like to get excited again. I'd like to get invested. I still think they do need a long break, though. Yeah. I can't. They probably think they've done it now. They go, "Oh, well, we had a little break." It's like, no. You need to go away for 5 years
at least. At least do Secret Wars. Say what you have to say.
You just can't keep spinning the plate of drama this long.
They've got to finish it now because they're on the way. I think another thing people were saying was that, like, compared to Civil War, which really felt like Avengers 2.5, this is a bit of a letdown. I wasn't expecting it to be that kind of film again, but it feels more like what Civil War did really well is it spread our heroes away. It was a conflict. We were half and half. Everyone was, against each other, and that was what was great about Infinity War and Endgame, is when they came back together. I don't think we're going to have that type of moment where we set up Doomsday in a way that Infinity War really benefited from. So it feels like once we start Doomsday, we're going to just have to go straight into it and hope we know where everyone is.
What's mad is that by the time Secret Wars finishes or comes to us,
2027,
maybe 27, that'll be nearly 20 years of Marvel. That's when they should rest it.
Yeah.
They go, it's been 19 years.
20-year anniversary.
You do maybe one final film in 2028, and then you maybe Spider-Man. Oh no, Spider-Man 4's coming out in 2026. But like some final little full stop, and you go, we'll be back.
Because the Infinity War one was a 10-year anniversary almost, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was like, oh, look what they've managed to achieve in 10 years. This like represents all of those stories coming together for this amazing moment. Whereas funny now, nearly 10 years on, we're like, God, just rest it. Because I think the appetite will be back.
Yeah.
We say this about Star Wars all the time. Let it breathe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not the worst film ever.
No, I think it's
I'll never rewatch it.
No. But when do you ever rewatch many Marvel films?
I occasionally do. I've rewatched No Way Home, and I've rewatched Civil War, and I've rewatched a fair amount of them, actually. I've not rewatched Thor 2.
Never.
I've not rewatched Thor 4.
Never.
But I've rewatched Thor 3.
This is better than Thor Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
Because Thor Love and Thunder, even though it looked like it had a bigger budget, it was more spectacular, failed. And was annoying at what it was trying to do.
Yeah.
It was like dead on arrival. It's flawed. I don't look at this, although I see Captain America: Brave New World as being hampered and difficult.
It's not a failure of a film.
Yeah, it's not a failure. It's not. I don't look at it and go, well, there's a huge flaw there. In Quantumania, I've always been like, this film is dead on arrival because Ant-Man going to the quantum realm is not interesting.
Yeah.
It's a space film. You've just put him in a rubbery. You've taken away his power, basically. Anyway,
I like that. I could see Sam Wilson leading a team.
Yes,
I really believed in him as a leader, as a captain.
I also still feel like they could have just called it Falcon, like in the sense that like I don't need him to be Captain America, but I get that's the whole story. But like anyway,
there you go, guys. Those were our thoughts for Avengers: Captain America: Brave New World. Thank you so much for listening to this extra little bit of spoiler chat. Let us know, maybe not in spoiler terms for the main show, but let us know how you're feeling about the MCU heading towards Doomsday. Sounds really dark. It will be dark. We'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, send them in to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com and we will read them out on the main show. Go and listen to the spoiler-free review if you haven't already. And go and check out our review of Bridget Jones. That's a fun one in episode 168. But thank you so much for listening. Thank you very much to our producers, Finn and Dave. We really appreciate your support. And we will see you next week.
Thank you very much,
guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.